The Extreme Dream, a motivational ski documentary, a study of mountain cultures on 3 continents in 7 countries. I'm Dan Egan, and when I was 9 years old, my brother John was 15. We had just seen our first Warren Miller ski film. John told me after the movie that when he grew up, he was going to sit on every chairlift in the world. I was only 9 years old and I didn't know much, but I knew if my brother was going to sit on every chairlift in the world, I was going to go with him. That was over 20 years ago. Today, John and I have climbed and skied in countries that don't even exist anymore. The USSR, East Germany, and Yugoslavia. The map of the world is changing fast, but 2 things will always remain the same: mountains and snow. John and I ski because we love it. We travel to experience mountain cultures and people from different lands. John and I have a reality born from the courage to live out our wildest dreams. So grab an atlas. Better yet, buy a plane ticket and join us on a ski safari that can last a lifetime and discover the mystery of skiing in places you've only dreamt about. Check this shot out, because to me, it totally illustrates what John can do on a pair of skis. How do you prepare to go halfway around the world to a country you know nothing about? You simply open your mind and you never try to predict what you might find. The Turkish streets were different. The language, the different religion, and the culture was all new to us. But we blend right in. It's a 2-day plane ride from Boston to Istanbul. From Istanbul, a 36-hour bus ride into central Anatolia. And from our hotel, it was a 5-hour hike to the top of this peak. In February, it snowed for 2 weeks straight. couple of Turkish mountain guides described this area to us. And to the best of their knowledge, nobody had ever skied this side of the mountain before. It felt good to be alone again with John in the mountains. When you ski in areas like this, you must make sure that everything is just perfect. We dug at least 15 different avalanche pits, checking out the snow conditions. When you're in a 2,000 vertical foot couloir like this one for the first time, everything is an experiment. Especially when there's a cliff waiting below. But there's nothing more fun than just coming up and popping off it. Yeah, we were making tracks in central Anatolia. And loving it. Hiking out of our new playground late in the afternoon, we discovered this helicopter that had crashed. We later found out that it had crashed over a year ago. The story goes that it was full of potential investors looking to develop skiing in Turkey. Unfortunately, there was a storm, and the copter crashed into the only existing chairlift. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but the plans for a better ski resort went down with the copter and this lift. It's the people that make traveling the best. And no matter where we are in the world, it's John who's our constant ambassador to the world. He breaks the ice. In Turkey, kayak means skiing. And once we figured that out, we were all set. The best part about fresh powder in Turkey is that the locals don't ski it. John's 6 years older than I am, and my whole life I've had to keep up. So after I fall, he never waits. Fresh powder, halfway around the world, you can't beat it. Cappadocia. This is the Grand Canyon of Turkey. 14 hours south from the capital of Ankara lays this magical, mystical land. Our guide was Halil, and he explained the history of this magical place. First, he took us to a Turkish bath. This building has been around since 1727. It was part of the Ottoman Empire. This building was all natural lighting. We were a long way from home, but we were feeling better, and we were in a part of the world that was blowing us away. This is where the Christians hid from Attila the Hun. In Cappadocia, there's 5 underground cities, each capable of holding up to 200,000 people. These are natural spires, made of sandstone, formed from the winds that have blown here for thousands of years. Crawling around in the caves was nothing like I have ever done before. John and I climbed around for 3 days, looking at all the different places we could make tracks. Even today, anybody can claim one of these caves as their house. There's over 1,000 people dwelling amongst these caves. It's fine if you don't mind not having electricity and running water. This is a place where you feel history. All around was evidence of people that we knew nothing about. People who could dig caves and rocks and leave behind signs. It was an adventure around every corner. It was cool. We were just hanging out, and it was like nothing we had ever seen before. We were staying in a hotel that was a cave, and the beds were carved out of rock. 9 years ago, a Canadian came here on a 2-week vacation. He ended up staying and opening up this hotel. It was here in this mystical land that we made friends that will last us a lifetime. How did 2 Boston street skiers grow up to ski the extreme of the world? Well, we ventured beyond our backyard to places like Big Sky, Montana. And of course, you'll remember back in 1990, Grand Targhee, Wyoming. This was a close one. How did the dream begin? Well, in 1980, I was 16 years old when John was making tracks in his first Warren Miller ski movie at Sugarbush, Vermont, where he was making $50 a week. We've come a long way since then, to places like Slovenia, the Julian Alps. In 1983, John was living in Squaw Valley, California. That's John behind Kevin Andrews, filming for the movie Ski Time.
Shred powder.
1987, it was Verbier, Switzerland, with Tom Day. Tom has skied in over 10 Warren Miller movies. And now, he's a world-class cameraman. Tom has traveled with us to Russia and Yugoslavia. In 1988, it was my turn to rip it up at Squaw Valley, California.
Screaming down the fall line, carving up the hill, rocking to the valley floor.
Extreme thrill.
1989, Heavenly Valley, Mott's Canyon, and perfect powder turns. This is where we got our first real lesson of just what the extreme can do. Remember, Warren said, and now we're down to one, Egan. In the summer of 1989, I was chilling out in fresh powder in Portillo, Chile. Portillo has a base elevation of 12,000 feet and 3,000 vertical foot runs. I was traveling with Kevin Andrews, and this was our first run of the day. 75 perfect powder 8 turns. This was one of the longest running shots ever used in a Warren Miller ski film. Oh yeah! In Sun Valley, they have the ultimate combination: helicopters and a world champion as a guide. Pete Patterson was 11 years on the U.S. ski team. One of the best parts about my job is I get to meet my childhood ski heroes. All winter long, John and I travel with a film crew of about 8 people, and every one of them is a die-hard skier, especially Dean Decas, our video guy. 6 months a year, this guy's traveling around the world. The rest of the year, he's growing cranberries in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Pete is an animal. His pack weighs 65 pounds. And he's on 2 10s. Not bad. We all like to think every turn is going to be perfect, but you have to come to expect the unexpected. And this one was too close.
Woo, nice. All right, man. Nice. Way to pull it out.
It was easy to understand Pete's need for speed. Pete was 16 when he first stepped into the World Cup starting gate, and Pete wanted it bad. When other kids were learning to drive, he was studying aerodynamics and physics. Pete was one of the best. In 1978, he was third in the World Championships. 1980, fifth in Lake Placid at the Olympics. He's a true extremist. Today, he travels all around the world, searching out peaks over 20,000 feet high. Pete explains just how many big peaks he's been on.
Six or seven.
Have you skied off all those?
No, skied off of a few of them and walked down a few of them.
What's the highest altitude you've skied from?
23,000.
That's extreme.
It was great, making turns behind one of the best downhillers in the world. Whoever said downhillers can't turn was lying. Dean enjoyed a day off from his video camera, ripping up fresh powder turns. Pete told me he's been pushing the envelope since he was 16 years old, and he doesn't plan on stopping till the day he dies. The Soviet Union, Mount Elbrus, the highest peak in Europe at 18,500 feet. Elbrus is located just 200 miles east of the Black Sea. It is not a technical climb, but its long history of bad weather has frustrated climbers for centuries.
So would we attempt to climb to this nearest peak first then tomorrow?
In May of 1990, John and I went to Elbrus to document an international expedition. Along with cameraman Tom Day, the expedition consisted of 23 people from 9 different countries. The 18,000-foot peak was not the only obstacle. There were language barriers, and experience levels ranged from Chamonix mountain guides to recreational mountaineers.
I feel fine, but sometimes it seems like I'm walking in a ship.
We have been living on the mountain in a refuge at 14,000 feet for 3 days, acclimating to the altitude. On May 2nd, there would be at least 13 different expeditions on the mountain. That day will be remembered in history as one of the worst climbing disasters ever. A storm crashed into Mount Elbrus from below, dropping more than 50 climbers and killing at least 33. I was among 5 climbers from our expedition lost for over 34 hours. Only 4 would return. From day one on the mountain, John and I knew that this would be an experience like no other.
Very nice up there. Wind was blowing.
The weather was inconsistent. Sunny one moment, stormy the next. A storm raged the night before the climb. The weather broke by 8 a.m. With clearing skies above, the guides decided to push for the summit. John and I decided not to climb together. This would turn out to be a major mistake. My climbing partner for the day would be Valadia, a French journalist from our expedition. John would climb and ski with Tom Day at a slower pace. By 10 o'clock in the morning, Valadia and myself, along with 7 other members from our expedition, had passed the guides. With no word said, we pushed for the summit. From that point on, I wouldn't see my brother or the guides for another 34 hours. By 12 o'clock, John and Tom were turned back by the storm, and they rescued 3 less experienced members of our expedition. Dot Helling from Vermont shares of her experience.
I just felt a little bit disoriented, and towards the end I was just about crawling. It just really caught you off guard. At least it caught me off guard. I got really dehydrated.
4 days later, John recalls,
the storm came up from the bottom of the mountain, and I saw it coming up. And when it got to us, I knew it was still going up, and it was progressively getting worse.
Fooled by the clear skies above, I climbed on. Focused on the summit, I ignored the storm that approached me from below. I had been unable to keep up with Valadia, and now was climbing with Alfred, a Spanish member from our expedition. Nearing 18,000 feet, it became hard to breathe. We started to labor, only able to take 20 steps at a time. 150 feet below the summit, we dropped our packs, rationalizing that it would lessen our loads, forgetting that they might save our lives. The wind was increasing, the clouds were closing in. We ignored common sense, and we refused to turn back. With Alfred just 40 feet in front of me, another climber appeared out of the clouds and joined us on the summit. He was a Soviet guide assigned to an expedition from Italy. Searching for lost Italians, he found us instead. Sasha, our new friend, watched in disbelief as we celebrated our goal. Insisting that we hurry, we shared the last of my water and headed off the peak. There was nothing but white all around. We were confused and tired. And then suddenly we remembered our packs. To risk finding our packs would mean losing Sasha. We chose Sasha, confident that we would find the refuge 4,000 feet below.
Sasha was yelling to his Russian friends. We couldn't see them, but we could hear them. And, there was a group of people that we could go join, and we could all go down together.
Sasha found another group of Russians. They had found Michel, a Frenchman from our expedition. I tried John one last time on the radio.
No one seemed to realize that one night in a mountain can be deadly, two definitely would be. The snow and the wind, it was just full time wind. And what we did is we took ourselves out onto the middle of a glacier, ice. And there was hard blue ice, glacial ice, which is as hard as granite. Thank God we had crampons on, we could walk down the ice. But the problem with a glacier is crevasses, major cracks in the ice. Now there's confusion amongst the group, now the Russians are starting to show the fact and admit that they are lost. And we march on, we start going down.
By 7 p.m., disaster struck.
All I know is he fell. He just went, and everybody stopped. Sasha tied the rope around himself and jumped back. He just jumped, man. This guy tied a rope around his chest and jumped into this hole. And we held on together in a rope, lowered him down. He tied it around the Russian. We pulled the first Russian out, threw the rope back down. Sasha tied it around himself, pulled him out.
The climber had smashed his face badly.
Once that guy fell through the crevasse, everything changed because it became obvious that we couldn't walk through the glacier at night. They weren't going down, they would stop. There was time to build a snow cave. They started to dig. I didn't know what was happening really at this point. I was just like, I understood what they were doing, but I didn't know how. All of a sudden, I get hit in the back. I turn around and a Russian said, "Help," and he gave me an ice pick. And at that particular moment, it was a cave, a snow cave. Dig, 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 dig. As I understood it, in my own mind, I was digging a cave that we were going to share amongst the people in my expedition. Michelle, Alfred, and myself were going to share this cave. But I was tired, you know, and I needed a rest, so I'd get out of the cave and no one would hop back in to build it. And I was building it with 3 people in mind, you know. I just kept thinking we have to get 3 people in here. Frustrated and tired, I got back in the cave and I started kicking again. I don't know what the other people are doing, but I know that no one ever tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, take a rest, kid." No one ever said, you know, let me help you out.
After digging for 4.5 hours and being abandoned by my fellow climbers, I laid shivering in my cave, which I was sure was my tomb. I was suddenly aware of somebody entering the cave.
It was Sasha. He goes, "We sleep together, like brothers." But I asked him, where are the others? You know, where's everybody else? And everybody else was already in a hole. Everybody else was already in a cave.
It snowed 5.5 feet with winds over 100 miles an hour. I went from vomiting blood to hallucinations. Sasha slept. In the morning, we headed down. We were only out of our caves 20 minutes when disaster struck again.
Boom, this other guy just falls, disappears totally. Second guy in line, boom.
And we were scared. I felt trapped. We couldn't find our way back to the caves, and now Sasha was rescuing another climber. The man had broken his leg.
What a nightmare. You didn't know if they were going to come out, and if they came out, you didn't know what they looked like. And you just kept thinking, this is roulette. This is Russian roulette. Eventually we're all going to end up in a hole. You know, I'm just trying to prepare myself mentally for my turn. And we're trudging through waist-deep powder and snow in this major, major blizzard. Instead of going down, you know, all now in my mind is just down. And I know that these guys are prepared to sleep another night on the hill.
Now the Russians started to melt snow on a stove and refused to give us any. Michelle, Alfred, and I huddled near a rock, discussing breaking away without a rope. We were then informed that it was time to dig caves once again. We refused. Go down, we argued.
And the Russians all huddled together, you know, they kind of just sucked together. The 3 of us were alone. So eventually out of their huddle, the Russian huddle, comes Sasha. And he says, "I go with you." And he said to me, "Go back up to the huddle where all the other Russians were, get the rope." And I'm thinking, oh man, you know, I don't have an invoice for this rope. I hope these guys, you know, I hope they let it go, you know.
Reluctantly, I entered the circle of Russian climbers. Staring into their eyes, I saw hatred, fear, and the unknown. Taking the rope, I felt their fears and walked away. There were 5 of us now heading down. Sasha and myself broke trail. The Frenchman refused to help. Alfred had severe frostbite and suffered from altitude sickness. The man with no face just mumbled. It was hard to keep him on track. After crawling through waist-deep snow for over 3 hours, we finally found the tongue of the glacier. On the lower mountain, I felt safer. I said goodbye to Sasha. He had saved us all. We hugged, and he said that he would rest until morning and climb back up for the others, which he did. By 10 that night, we had found a road just 3 miles from the hotel and my brother. The storm killed over 33 climbers from Japan, Italy, and the Soviet Union. Many were never found. Claudio Abate, an Italian journalist from our expedition, lost his battle with nature on May 4th, 1990. The lessons I bring home from Elbrus are this: cars, houses, and all material things mean nothing. It's love, passion, and desire that's all that you own, and it's what you lose when you push past the limits on the mountains. This is not an everyday event, but it is every skier's dream. Deep, soft, light, and fluffy. This is our brother Ned, sixth child of 7, fourth boy of 5. Ned lives in Lake Tahoe, California. Island Lake, Fernie BC. It's a 45-minute cat ride from the road to this mountain lodge in the middle of the BC Rockies. The lodge only holds 27 people. It's your own little powder paradise. Wolfgang. In high school, this guy was voted most likely to fluff off. He's been a ski bum for over 20 years. He can telemark, snowboard, and ski. He lives to play and plays to live. Nothing beats a powder day with your friends, where the only measure for success is the size of your smile. If you want to go cat skiing on the stormy days and helicopter skiing on the sunny days, then you have to go to Island Lake because it's the only cat skiing and helicopter operation in British Columbia. It's a family-owned and operated resort. Here, the helicopter pilot is the cat driver. His wife is the cook. and their son is the mechanic and your guide. These were some of the scariest runs I've ever had. A 3,000 vertical foot long couloir, 2 ski lengths wide. You didn't want to mess up here. Sometimes it's just not pretty. Survival takes over.
If I put myself in a life or death situation and challenge myself, it opens up a lot of confidence, and my confidence level grows. And it opens doors in the rest of my life. And it makes doing business, building a home, or dealing with the customer or the subcontractor that much easier.
Steve Kite is a local legend. He's 2-time national Canadian Powder 8 champion and second in the world at Mike Wigley's. This guy rips it up with the best of them.
It's great. There's a certain bond there. I mean, sometimes we don't even have to be in the same run or anything. I just know you're making the same turns. It's like that time at Island Lake. We did those 2 shoots and they thought we choreographed it, but we just said we did it blind.
What's my favorite thing to do? Make turns behind John.
You've got to be ready. You can't be daydreaming up there. No way.
Yeah, if your mind says, whoops, the second it takes you to say whoops, you're done.
Exactly.
But if you fall, if you just slip and fall, your mind can deal with that. Stays relaxed and you just go with it and straighten yourself out.
Three more ski lengths, Dan.
Okay, 3 ski lengths more. And
A little
okay,
farther
see
right.
us?
There.
"3,000 years ago, nothing laid on this mountain except for a layer of white snow. And animals as big as the machines that bring us up here today, so that we can make perfect powder turns with Warren Miller." Warren is one of the biggest names in the world of skiing because he's never let go of 2 things: his camera or his dreams. That combination has taken Warren all over the world.
When I was teaching skiing in Squaw Valley in 49 and 50, I was shooting still pictures on my lunch hour, processing them at night, making 8x10s, and the next day catching the people at breakfast and trying to sell them to them for $1 so I could get enough money to buy my next roll of film.
Warren started making movies over 43 years ago. He told me he's lived 9 lives, and he still has 4 more left. He said life is simple when you look at it through the eyes of children. You can imagine how I felt. I used to just dream of being in a Warren Miller film. Skiing with Warren at Steamboat Springs Powder Cats, I felt like a little kid all over again. Jupiter Jones is the owner and founder of this powder heaven, and he believes in the power of powder. Me? I've been skiing in Warren's movies for 8 years. What would you say about that one, Warren?
Show me where it says in a book that you got to live here and work there. No, there is no book. You can do whatever you want.
Warren has been wherever sun, snow, and people have come together for his entire life. And at 67, he shows no signs of slowing down.
Not many people get the shred with Warren, man.
I had trouble just keeping up with him. I sure hope I'm skiing this well, spending my Social Security checks when I'm his age. Oh yeah! Making turns behind Jupiter, I realized why we were here. To put our signature on the side of a mountain, the same mountain that was here over 3,000 years ago. And God willing, will be here for my grandchildren's children.
I have friends who I've grown with in ski resorts all over the world, and I have friends that started out like the president of Aspen, Bob Maynard. He used to feed me chicken wings in Yosemite in 1946 when I lived in the parking lot. He's the president of Aspen. Very successful guy. And I still remember how he looked in his apron. And if we had sat there in Yosemite in 1945 and said, I'm going to travel all over the world, and Bob said, well, I'm going to be the president of the biggest ski company in the world, we'd have both laughed. But skis and the great outdoors and the freedom of, if you will, being an American or living in America, anybody can do whatever they want.
Love it. No smiling, live it. That was nice. Nice one. Whenever you're ready, Kristen.
If it weren't skiing, it'd be something else, but skiing is what I've always done, so. You're here.
Kristen, tell us about your attitude.
I'd like to think it's like aggressive, but I think I'm kind of serious, actually.
4 years ago, on a cold morning in January, I was thumbing to go skiing in Squaw Valley, California. That was the first time I ever met Kristen Lignell. We've been friends ever since. Kristen has an interesting life. Her last postcard came from Indonesia. The one before that, South America. 6 months a year, this woman's a nurse in San Francisco, California. The rest of the time, she's skiing her brains out all across the country. Kristen is widely recognized as one of the top ski models in the U.S., and she tells us about her first time filming.
Saying that Warren Miller was coming to Squaw, and that they needed another woman, and I was like, yeah, I could do that, no problem.
That's Superwoman Lignell. Kristen Lignell.
Unfortunately for Kristen, her first time filming for Warren was not so memorable.
Ended up, except for about 5 seconds of me falling, pretty much on the cutting room floor.
Filming for Warren can be hit or miss. You might spend 15 days on location for a shot like that to make it in the movie.
That's a wrap.
The Julian Alps, in the northernmost part of what used to be called Yugoslavia. Today, Slovenia is one of the newest countries in the world. John and I aren't politicians. We're mountaineers, and we were here to climb and ski, to search out the steeps. And we found some. I decided to go first. Unsure of the snow conditions, John watched from above. But then he became excited, and he jumped in too. And now we were both skiing different parts of this huge wall. This was steep. And I could feel John to the right of me. All of a sudden, he was in front of me. I had gotten myself into a puzzle all of my own. There were rocks below, and all of a sudden, the chute became double fall line. Now I'm thinking nothing but confidence. And now I'm thinking nothing but air. When we're not in the mountains, we're usually in some small little village, somewhere around the world. Language is not the only way to communicate. John and I just love to meet new friends. This woman had a son in Colorado. Hey, how about an Egan Brothers sticker? There's no retirement age in Yugoslavia. This is known as Warren Miller comedy. To us, there's nothing comical about skiing. It's our life and it's what we do. We're the Egan brothers, John and Dan, and we've skied coast to coast and around the world because we love it. Sometimes I still feel like that little 9-year-old child when I'm sitting on a single chairlift halfway around the world and I'm watching my brother ski with some new locals. And then I remember all the different places I've been in my life and just how lucky I am. I'm lucky because I've learned how to ski and I've learned what it means to be happy. John and I would like to thank you for witnessing all the beauty that our eyes have seen, and we'd like to encourage you to go forth and follow out and live your own dream.
Sprout and grow through the rocks and through the snow.